Hello and welcome to Nollywood Film Club. I am Mr. C, a Ryoko critic. Hope you're doing well. We have very something very different. As you can see from the title, if I have titled this appropriately, we are not just talking about a film today. We're also talking about a book that is important to so many Nigerians out there, and this was my first time reading this book, and I completely understand why. And it's a little longer than I've been promising, but not hopefully not too long. But I think it's important because obviously we're talking about more than just a film. And let us know if these kind of things interest you. I found this an interesting path to go down, and I'll just let you enjoy Nollywood Film Club discussing Half of a Yellow Sun, the book and the film. First off, let me do the intro, please.
Oh,
thank
sorry.
you.
Carry on.
All right, welcome to Nollywood Film Club / Book Club. Today, we did discuss Nollywood-related topics. Today we'll be discussing a book turned movie, and it's by Chimamanda Adichie, famed writer, and we're going to do it like this. We have not done something like this before. I think one of the first things I wanted to do is because I think I was really interested in sometimes what something in print, how that can be turned into a screenplay, and so it's good to this not well for we'll see how this experiment works. And I thought, at least this one is kind of Nollywood. So let's talk about this one. So, for the people, has anyone, anybody? Okay, I remember Vanessa. You said you read the book a long time ago. Can you tell your impressions? Because I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to do like a general thoughts of the book, and then we will do like our classic normal film club format where we'll discuss what we liked in the good, we'll discuss what we didn't like and in the bad, and we'll do pushback, and a summary at the end. So first, Uti, thanks for coming on to speak. Wanted to ask, have you read the book, or did you read the book?
I'm like, I'm like, um, I read the book when I read the book 10 years ago. I watched the movie 10 years ago too. I'm not redoing it.
Okay.
I think I can remember the emotions from it, and that's what I'm going to use to talk today.
Okay, that's enough. All right, that's enough. Okay, all right. So Vanessa, from what you remember, just give us your general thoughts of the book, Half of a Yellow Sun, at the time when you read it, like the whole vibe. What from what you remember?
So at the time I was in secondary school, so this was what, maybe um what, 13? No, no, more than 13. Wait. What year are we in 2024? Yeah, about
2025.
sorry, 2025. Oh god. Sorry, 2025. 2025 minus 12. That's okay. So about 13, 14 years ago, in it. And God, I don't old. Um 13 years ago, I read this book. And at the time, I was a history student in secondary school. And while it's nice, not nice, while reading history textbooks are important, and yes, people say, oh, this is fiction, it's not a history textbook. I think reading books like these ones that are fictionalized but also rooted in reality, right? That tell historical events from a human point of view is important in shaping our worldview and our opinions and our thoughts about these things, right? Um, I I'm not Igbo, so I don't have a lot of family members who spoke about the Nigeria Biafra civil war and the effect that it had on familial relationships and people, right? So I didn't have that first person point of view understanding of it. All I had was a cerebral knowledge from Nigerian history textbooks. Well, not textbooks. My history teacher actually cared enough to teach about things like that. And even then, it felt like a sanitized version of the stuff that went down. And so reading a book like um, Half of a Yellow Sun, where it's been told from the perspectives of people who experienced this event, right? Be it a fictionalized telling, it still felt very real, and case in point to this is that conversation of Kainene being missing, and everyone's still talking about what happened to Kainene. And I feel like the whole point of the book is that Kainene went missing. There were many people who never returned from war, who were never found in the aftermath of this event. And so again, it's that thing of being fiction, but also still being rooted in a reality that Nigeria cannot run from, right? So yeah, I really liked Half of a Yellow Sun when I read it. I thought it was a really good book the first time I read it.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Vanessa. Uti, give us your impressions from the time you read the book.
So as I said, I think I forgot like a bit of it, but I remember like really, really enjoying the book, and I really liked it. I think I tried to watch the movie today, just to like remember why I disliked it, and then it also reminded me why I like the book. I think the characters in the book were very complex, and it wasn't just the story. It was like how each of them navigated it. I think there was such a richness to the story, and I think that's like one of Chimamanda's strengths. And yeah, just like Vanessa, I think I read it in, I think I was 14 or 13 when I read it too, and I just remember being like, wow. So yeah, it was a really good book for me.
Okay. Thanks, Uti. Vanessa, what did you want to add?
I forgot. I also appreciated that the book also explored themes of colonialism and the effect that it had on these characters and their mindsets and their points of views. Odenibo, as much as he liked to believe that he was this, inherently African, well, Igbo man, and was such a fighter against, colonialism and what the white man did and the unification of the amalgamation of the northern and southern protectorates and all this whole thing. He was still a man who's had habits that were very clearly influenced by colonialism, and it was in the way he spoke, referring to what's his name, the guy who they brought to work for him, as my good man. Um, Certain things in his actions were still very influenced by colonialism, and he almost felt like a microcosm of the reality of most Nigerians in that era, and even now. A lot of the things that we do, a lot of the way that we act, a lot of the things that we now consider cultural in Nigeria are very much influenced by colonialism, whether or not we care to admit it. And I also thought that that was a very smart thing that Chimamanda put in the book. So
Okay. Thanks, Vanessa. All right, Miss C. As a recent reader,
Yes. For some reason, this is the first time I'm reading Half of a Yellow Sun. But yeah, it's I think there was one night I didn't sleep till 3:00, right? Because I just didn't want to put it down. Vanessa's use of traumatic is the right word in my opinion. It is traumatic reading, but very important nonetheless. I really appreciate, and I remember reading the first part of it, getting sucked into their lives and their problems that were non-civil war problems, right? Somebody's mom doesn't like you, daddy's trying to get contracts, university this, a luta continua. And it's like, there were a lot of cute moments and funny moments, and you're really getting into it, but the civil war's coming, so it was just hanging over me still. And I'm trying to enjoy these moments, but I know their lives are about to significantly change. I thought, I think I just got reminded that Chimamanda really doesn't like clean characters, and I really appreciated that in this film, in this book, sorry. There were no clean characters. Everybody's complex. Everyone's, human, I guess, and also with the capacity to do really messed up stuff and not so messed up stuff. The Civil War, what I thought was really interesting was how she was able to capture propaganda and how propaganda works and how people hold on to propaganda. It's you follow them, flee from Unsuka, flee from Aba, flee from bombs while in Umuahia, and you're still hearing them repeat, "We're driving back the Vandals. Oh, we're definitely winning. We're just cleaning up this sector. Aba has never fallen." But you're following them while it's falling. And it's just the power of propaganda, which was, quite interestingly captured. I appreciated the references to, and again, obviously Chimamanda and a lot of her experience would be Igbo, and she, doesn't have as much detail on like the minority tribes, but I did appreciate the reference to what the minority tribes had to deal with. As somebody who is from a minority tribe as well, it's part of the whole Civil War conversation that gets lost in, whatever narratives and whatever, coverage it tends to get. And I appreciate that coming up. It was also just one of those reminders that, anyways, my thing is like humans, a lot of people don't hate oppression, they hate being the oppressed. And when you're in a position where, there's someone else, or you're going to oppress those people, right? Or, turning on outsiders, right? When you're afraid. And it's the, hey, look at the immigrants, look at the people who don't speak your language, look at these people, these are the people after you. There was also I feel like there was so much of, yes, it was about the Nigerian Civil War, but I really felt there was so much of Nigeria captured within the book. The distrust, the tribal distrust, right, that exists in Nigeria. It's not just it didn't start yesterday. It didn't start in 1960, right? But it really does a good job of capturing how that exists, why that exists. It does a good job of capturing that. I feel every Nigerian has a relative or has stories of, somebody, when a crisis started in their area, their neighbor or their friend brought people to their house to murder them. And everyone still has the story of their neighbor from, the tribe that was, murdering them, saving them and hiding them and risking their lives. And it's this very complex, complicated relationship that we have with each other as Nigerians and this low trust society we've, developed. And I'm not gonna lie, it made me a little sad because I realized we're not gonna make it, but that's another conversation. It's just that, yeah, we haven't learned anything. It is what it is. But I thought this was really good. I have chosen to believe that we found Kainene eventually, but I appreciate and understand having that character driver, having that character to signify those who were lost in that way. I thought that was really interesting. I thought it was really interesting to watch how people transformed in war, how war transformed these people. And even then, it's not like people totally went out of character. It's just there are always these seeds there. And then, hardship brings it out, right? Like Odenigbo always drank, for instance, right? He'd have a drink with his mates, they'd drink into the night, have their conversations, blah, 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 right? But when things got really bad and he couldn't bury his mother and he got into this despondent state, now he's an alcoholic. Now he's spending all the time at the bar, right? It's not that crazy. It's not that much of a leap. It's hard times bringing these things out of you. It's the inequality existing even within dire circumstances, right? Just between Kainene and Olanna, even the life Olanna was living in war, completely different from the life Kainene was living in war, even with the hardships. I feel like there was so much compressed into one book, and honestly, it was always going to be a challenge to adapt into a film. But yeah, it was definitely worthwhile reading.
Let us hear what you read book is okay. All right. Okay. No, thank you, Mrs. C. C came on. I don't know if you read the book. If you read the book, whenever you read the book, do you have thoughts of what were your memories and thoughts of the book half of A Yellow Sun? M does words.
Oh, that's me. Hi. I did read it recently. I read it. Can you hear me, by the way?
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. I read it a couple of days ago. I agree with everybody that's gone before me. I thought it was important reading. Um, I think mostly that it does what Chimamanda does best. It's an excavation of the human experience. You get to know these people. You get to feel with them. Most of the time, anyway. So I thought it was just a fantastic way for her to like just um, display her skills in that manner. Um, it's incredibly sad. And yes, with I think Sissy has said everything that I could have said. Yes, it was also worthwhile to see how their lives are remarkably changed by this war. One thing I would say is I think that Chimamanda has a bite to her criticisms of like the Biafran state in a way that I don't think Chinua Achebe ever managed to have. She's very clear. The generals that are amassing wealth, people who work with the government, Ujuk himself, who are amassing wealth, and then you contrast that to these people who have fallen from grace, who are living in a one-bedroom apartment, who have to shower in a bathroom that is shared by everybody in the compound, and here's their friend, right? Who works with the state and who has a mansion and can afford sardines, right? So it was very interesting to see her bring up that criticism throughout the book as well. I think when we're telling vulnerable stories like this, it's very hard to strike a balance. I thought she did that really well. This is something that people believed in and people fought for, and people gave their lives to. Horrendous, horrendous what it is that Nigeria did to its own people, right? I think those bite points of her message were clear as well. But yeah, that's about it.
Thanks, Mel. MSE, I don't know if you read the book. If you read the book, do you have what are your thoughts about the book? And how long ago did you read it? If you read it,
Oh, I read the book. I think I read it before Dream Counts, her new book. I had to go back to some of her books. Funny fun fact: Half a Yellow Sun is one of those books I like. I don't go back to as I like with Americana. I just love Americana, but Half a Yellow Sun, it's always I feel it's always given this. You know how they tell you to read. It's a good book. Don't get me wrong, but it's one of those books you just cannot pick and just randomly start reading them. But yeah, I read it. I read it last month. And it was. Well, how could I explain it? There's some things I saw because when I read it, I was pretty young, and now reading it again, I just like, oh, I never caught that point. But yeah, like most of everyone said, it's one of those books that a lot was going on. You know, Chimamanda, we've always known her for writing complex characters. They're never two-dimensional. Even the ones that are secondary characters, right? When you follow these people, you see there's just like there's another layer to them. So it's not a single layer. It's just you read the book and you're just like, how can anyone even do this? You argue with the characters, and that's why when the film came out, I was just I think first of all I did not expect much from the film, but the fact that they used Olanna and Kainene as the main focus of the story, I thought that was truly um, something about that choice was it doesn't even make sense to me because while they somehow feel like the lead of the story, Kenny did not give much to the story, if that makes any sense. We saw Kenny from different points of views, right? She did not have a fleshed story, and I keep telling myself, I said to myself, how exactly are they going to pull this off when there was so little said about Kenny? Everything we hear from her is from people's points of view, right? And you know what it, I don't know if anyone like the thing that would people say the things people say about you, it's not truly you, if that makes any sense. So how exactly are they going to make a movie out of what people have said about someone? So that for me was the point of I just knew that that was going to be a failure. I know that Kainene again, I love her, but we saw her from different points of view. We never saw her from her lens. She was just from everyone's lens in the book, right? And so it's a very good book, and I wish the book was a miniseries. It would have done like if it was a miniseries, it would be brilliant. Which each character would have like their section in the film, and then we sort of like follow them. But with just Kainene and Olanna, I felt that was um that was just a truly it's a big mess. Nothing. So yeah, I really Chimamanda was she's great. But I can't say for this a new book because I'm almost done with a new book. You know, there's so much has changed that needs to be said. But yeah, but we're not talking about the news. I'm going to mute myself.
All right, thanks, Emezi. Chiweke, have you read the book? If you have, what were your thoughts, and how long ago did you read the book?
Hey guys, it's been a hot minute. Yeah, I read the book. I've read the book like 3 times, and it's not an easy book to go back to because it's quite heavy. I'm not sure the last time I read it. It's probably been at least 2 years. And yeah, for me, it's a very important book that deals with a very important subject matter. And it's got rich historical context. Handling the Biafran War, and then she handles it with this with the right amount of nuance. It's a very delicate topic, and it's easy to get sentimental, but she doesn't even get sentimental. Like she tells it as a pure storyteller, where she just like takes an objective standpoint and then just tells the story, and then she leaves you to draw your own conclusions from it. She just tells you a story, and she has Chimamanda has this way of writing, like that prose is very lyrical, it's very vivid and immersive. Her descriptions make you feel like you're in the story, like it really gets you in there, and it's very immersive. And there's also this unapologetic depiction of war, where it's just like she shows you the gory side of it, like how she takes Ubu from this doe-eyed houseboy, from this naive houseboy to someone that eventually becomes a rapist during the war. Just to see that transition, and the different things she does. It's a really intense book. It leaves you. It's very heavy, and it also has a lot of historical authenticity, despite it being fiction. Chimamanda is just. I mean, she's really good at what she does. And yeah, I mean, I think everyone has pretty much covered a lot of things, but yeah, I just wanted to add that. And yeah, thank you.
All right, thanks, Chiweke. Good to hear from you after a hot minute. Yeah, so my versions of my thoughts on the book. I think a lot of people have said most of what I want to say, at least touch on, but I probably will add something slightly different to some things. So I think because of this exercise that we were going to do, I hadn't read the book before, but I had seen the film a long, long time ago, so long ago that I did not remember even that this book had Biafra War in it. That's how long ago, and how much I deleted the film from my memory. How much I just remember not liking it, or not liking the film. But that was then. So when I read the book this time, one of the things I did was I thought, what am I now expecting, having read the book? What would I expect the film to capture? What is the spirit of this book? What would it have captured? And for me, the main thing, just two things. It's like it really is mostly about, for me, like the world building in this book. Like most people have said, there is an authenticity in this book that is just so rich. This is both a time, a history that I'm not very knowledgeable on, but everything all felt so plausible and almost recognizable at the same time, without knowing any of the history behind it or much of the history behind it. And then the way the characters behave, some of the almost peculiar things, even the things that seem strange that the characters were doing, that felt they almost felt, well, I guess peculiar is the one I'm going to stick with. Even when the characters did things that felt peculiar, I understood those and I recognized those in, if not my young self, just people I knew when I was even much younger, or people that I even know now. And there's so many things that that just still persist still today. And I was thinking about the main thing though that sticks out is, for me, the war and how it's painted in this book. Now, people have, I think Chinweke even mentioned that she's very unapologetic about how she paints the brutality of war, and he's absolutely spot on there, because for me, it is the heaviest thing. People mentioned how this is not an easy book to pick up on, and it was difficult to go back or try to pick this book up again. I struggled through the second half of this book. I really did. And I was trying to sort of dissect why it was, because the first half was, or the first bit anyway, first part seemed to me like a breeze, or very much enjoyable. And, I was having moments. And then I discovered that it was just a lot of things felt a little too close, a little too real, and felt very heavy. And it did stop being fun. So I really can understand people not wanting to pick up this book, or being hesitant at picking this book up a second time. So, but that being said, the way Chimamanda paints war in this is quite something. Not only does it, take from people. I think there's a line from Kainene about how there's some problems, some things make some problems less worse. Some things are so unforgivable. They make the unforgivable. Yeah, something along that line. But yeah, it reminds me of that, almost that. I don't know where I had the saying, something along the line of death makes a mockery of life, or something like that, where it's just and for me it felt like war made a mockery out of issues, like your everyday issues. And it's not like, one shouldn't be worry about issues that they have, but when the war really comes on, it's like everybody's tends to focus on one thing and one thing only, and that's what takes everybody's time. But the way the war robs people of so much, it's not only like actual loved ones, it's civility, it's even like there's a part in the book where I think somebody comes, I can't remember the character's name, but comes to see Olanna, and he used to do poetry or something, and he used to write. And she's trying to ask for a little bit of poetry, like, hey, what about it? And he's just so concentrated on like fighting, and he's like, forget about. He's that part of him is dead, and war has just taken that away from him. The war took so much beauty and from the world, from their world. It wasn't just like the people and the lives, right? It was so much more. And to see how it changed many people was, again, it felt really heavy and difficult to read. So yes, it's just, I'm with you. I'm not picking up this book. I mean, I'm not really somebody who's read many books twice, but I just know I doubt that I'm going to be picking this book up again. But it's not going to be because of the lack of quality of the writing from someone like Chimamanda. It's just mainly due to how difficult this was sometimes to get through. One thing that um, um, for me highlights some of Chimamanda's like great writing is, sometimes I think we've spoke about nudity previously and like how there's a point to it and like, you use it to show a specific thing and like this. And the sex scenes in this book, every time there's a sex scene, Chimamanda uses that sex scene to tell you something about the character or what the character is going through. There's a difference between when what's Olanna say? Odenigbo. There's a difference between when Olanna and Odenigbo first make love, and she's narrating that. There's a difference between when Olanna has sex with Richard. There's a difference between when Olanna had sex with Odenigbo after she's had sex with Richard. All of these things are narrating, telling you something specific about the character's POV at that time. It's not just there because I want to write you some smut or anything like that. I just found all of those things very interesting as somebody who doesn't read too many novels. That like still that the principle still persists in a lot of in the books and in the novels of using almost like set pieces, where in set pieces or action set pieces in the movies, you would use them as a tool to tell you something. In good action set pieces, you use that as a tool to tell you something about the character, right? So yeah, that's what I felt about this. But yes, there's a lot of really really good writing in this, and I enjoyed a lot of it. Okay, before we go into the film, Emezi and Vanessa have their hand up. Emezi, what did you want to say?
Oh, I think Vanessa had her hands up before me.
Okay,
but I could go if she. Or should I
Vanessa,
go before her?
You can go first. You can wait.
Oh, it's just the sex thing. Your comments on the sex thing. I'm in my head. I'm like, isn't that how all sex thing works? Like they tell you something about that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel. And then I don't know if we have had this conversation here in this space where the thing with sex scene and Nigerian sex scenes. I don't know if there's space we've had about it over here, but I think if there's anything, that's why. And there's always been this unprovoked conversation about sex scenes in movies and how we are now constantly having sex scenes with books too that are just meaningless. But I still stand at the point that sex scenes do not necessarily have to. Nobody should eat me raw, but I feel like sex scenes just not sometimes don't necessarily have to tell us things about the characters. Yeah, but then again, like you said, Chimamanda does that well with the sex scenes in the book, and I think the general idea that we have been sold for a long time is that sex scenes have to tell us about, I have to show some kind of review something about the character because that's how books work. But again, I'm still in that class of sometimes people just want to knock and not care. And maybe they realize after just having that sex that, this was a pretty bad decision, but not someone having this sort of like lyrical, because there's kind of a lyrical, now that you mentioned it, I never really thought about that. But when Olanna was having sex with Richard, when Olanna was having sex with Odenigbo, there was we somehow have this language thing going on, and I felt like while it's great, it's not anywhere close to real life. That's my opinion.
Yeah. So for me, it's when I say tell us something about the characters, I'm really just almost. It's almost. I'm really just saying it's saying something other than this is sex. And the problem, I think you can have a this is sex one time, and you can make it interesting and all of that. But if you just keep on having, oh, this is sex, what you're doing is it just feels like you're repeating something without any point to it. It feels like gratuity to me anyway. It feels like just repetition. It's the same thing as any other almost action or any other thing you would have. You wouldn't repeat you wouldn't repeat any action in any a movie or in a film just for bands or without any purpose. Like there should be a point when you start having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sex scenes, right? It should do something other than, oh, this is a sex scene. That's how I felt, and I wasn't even looking for it. It's just easy to spot when you see it getting done as well as it does in the book. Vanessa.
So I was gonna buttress your point about the sex scenes telling us things about the characters, and beyond just the sex scenes themselves, it also it's also the characters' relationship with sex and sexuality, and how that informs a lot of the choices that they make throughout the book. Case in point, I can't remember someone saying how what's this guy? I don't know. I keep forgetting his name. The houseboy. How he goes from being such a
Ugu.
sweetheart. Hmm?
Ugu.
Ugu, how he goes from being a sweetheart to being a rapist, to participating in a gang rape to being a rapist. English, a rapist. Anywho, I think he just didn't go from being a Swiss boy to being a rapist. A huge part of in the beginning that Chimamanda established with again some of these internal monologues and people's view on sexuality is that he'd been very curious about sex and the female body from the very beginning of the book. We read about this character who he had a crush on and talking about how he wanted to at least touch her breast once before she leaves town. He listens at the door while Odenigbo and Olanna have sex. Things like this are giving us a clue into how in the heat of war, while he may have been such a sweetheart in other areas, he had always been so curious about sex and had never, I don't know, at least not up until when we read in the book, not if I'm recalling correctly, had explored those desires, right? And so in the setting where he was in war as a soldier, presented with the female body, he does what he does. So again, these scenes that were written in the book weren't just written for being written sake, right? They were a clue into who these characters were and what informed the choices that they make later on in this story. Again, very good writing.
Just one quick interjection. Ugu
I
did
have a
have there
question.
was
Oh, I'm sorry.
one second. Yeah, there was a neighbor that used to come to Ugu's room.
Hey,
Yeah, so Ugu did
yes.
experience sex. So he had that
He
neighbor.
did experience sex, but he was quite
Yes,
sex hungry
yes,
and
yeah.
sex
And
obsessed.
even in those experiences, and again, this is why I would say even Ugu participating in a gang rape, right? It
Hmm.
somehow I wasn't surprised,
No,
right?
me neither. Me
There was
neither.
his character wasn't, and I wouldn't even say he participated because of his sexual curiosity, right? Ugu has always been impressionable,
Hmm.
impressionable and unable to take a lot of initiative, if that makes sense, and very.
Now follow.
Yes, Ogo is a follow follow. Even in his sexual encounters with that neighbor girl, right?
Hmm.
He used to come in, lights off, lay down, and have sex. And for him, there were these all his internal monologues on he wants to try these positions he saw in master's books, but he's
Hmm.
afraid to say that he wants to try something else. So Ogo just keeps having the sex that the girl comes to have. No initiative, no there's no control. He's not driving anything. But
Mm.
then when he ends up in war, he gets there with the boys, and his first, when they invite him to it, he turns it down, but he doesn't even turn it down with,
Any conviction? No.
yes, he doesn't turn it down with conviction. He turns it down like a little bitch. And so when they push again, he's like, well, I guess, because that's his character. He doesn't have the conviction to push against what he's being told to do or what he's being driven to do. And, it's really messed up. But again, it's that thing in the consistency of the writing where everybody has these little seeds and it just takes the right or wrong scenarios to bring it out. While Ogu is living with people who, ask him to do the right things, he does the right things. When he's with people who are asking him to do not great things, there he goes.
Yep.
Yeah, and if I wanted to even just give one more summary of like again what I think the book is doing, I mentioned this thing about like it for me feels like the point of the book is you put out this really well fleshed out characters and you put them in this really awful situation of this awful civil war, and there isn't this big plot following, like linking one thing to the other. And this was what was always going to make it a difficult book to adapt. It's not. It's definitely doable. It's just like it would take some skill to do it, because again, you don't have the luxury of one doesn't have the luxury of this grand plot that is overarching, that takes you from here to here. The book is really just about, hey, here are these characters, fully fleshed out characters in this really, really incredibly nuanced and fleshed out world. But yeah, so that being said, shall we do the movie? All right, let's do the movie. For those of you who have watched it, do you want to start us off with what we? But before we even move to the movie, is there anything anybody didn't like about the book that somebody remembers? Is there anything somebody remembers that they didn't like about the book? Yeah, go on, Emily.
Something just slipped out of my head. I just hated the fact that we did not got like a full view on like I wanted so much from Kainene. I just wanted to see her. I want to hear her speak. I want to hear her move. That was just my beef with the book. Like I did not see Kainene in all 360 degree. Like I just so much wanted her. That's just the that's I think that's my major problem with the book. But when it got to the end, I understood why we our point of view is something that if we had it, it's just going to reduce the quality of what the book does at the end. So yeah. So, but I longed for her story. I honestly wanted her. I wanted her chapters in the book.
Okay, cool. Yeah, the thing that I not such a big fan of is otherwise it's just the heaviness. but like I don't know how you're gonna do a realistic Civil War thing without making it heavy. So yeah, that's not so much that's probably even a compliment to the writing, but yeah. All right, let's go to the film. Is there anything people liked about the film Half of a Yellow Sun? Start there. All right, Vanessa?
I haven't watched this in years. I don't remember. This is one of the few films I can say I actively wiped from my memory. But I will say Genevieve was pretty. When was very lovely looking in this, very beautiful. Um, yeah, I guess. Um, I don't know, man. Nsuka looked pretty. I see. I've wiped this film from my memory, and I refuse to watch it for this. You can't make me do what I do want to do.
All right. Okay. Fair. I had to be honest. All right. Iti, anything you remember liking from Half of a Yellow Sun?
Hmm. I think this is one of those movies where like you put like Hollywood actors and actresses in the movie and put Nollywood actors, and you're like, oh, maybe the Nollywood actors are doing better. I don't know. I remember watching this where I was like, you people should have just used a Nollywood actress as the because what was let me just continue. But like this was the first movie that I was like, oh wow, Nollywood actors are not that bad. But yeah, that's the only thing I remember. I guess liking.
Wow. Shout out to the Hollywood actors, I guess. All right. Okay. The Hollywood actors were British actors, but I guess more or less the same thing here. All right. MZ, is there anything you remember liking about the film?
Oh, I think the world building. It's one of those films that I felt I was truly in. Like I've always had this thing with this beef with Nigerian film when they try to do historical friction. They always feel just kind of giving me the sense of where we are at. You know, it's always you know that you're not where you are supposed to be in the film. But with this, I immediately the minute the film starts, just the I was transported. I never felt like I was somewhere. Um, I was in the present. I felt like I was transported. So the world building was just glorious. And then Kainene, yeah, I really love Kainene. I think I'm obsessed. I think that's why I still went back to the film because I watch it, I rewatch it. And I just love like Kainene was just well done. Even the person who I forgotten her name, she did so well. And the every characters were on point. Yeah, I just love the world. I just love the world. I love that they took their time, everything, they paid attention to detail. You did not see some like you just saw what you need to see. Like everything was just there. And that's one thing I love about the film. That's all I can remember. It was the colors was well done. Even their outfits was not overly done. You did not see something from the present. Everything was just, amazing. I think that's one thing I love about the film.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Who do we have next? I think it's Chinweke. Chinweke, do you want to give us your anything you liked from the film?
Yeah, sure. I'm not sure it's the same. Sorry, are we talking about Half of a Yellow Sun, the movie here? Because I'm not sure Emezi is talking about the same film. Um, I don't know, man. I'm with I'm with, I'm
What
with
do you
Vanessa.
mean? We are okay. Let me just mute.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but I'm not, I'm with Vanessa here because see, I'm trying my best to wipe that film from memory and pretend it didn't exist because I don't know what the hell that was. It was, I mean, the bar was on the floor, but then they showed me like that it was too high still. I don't know. It was just compared. It's very difficult to make book to film adaptations. It's difficult enough for even Hollywood, let alone Nollywood. I mean, they did what they had to do, right? But ultimately, it was very disappointing. I remember being bored. Like I just kept when I was watching it, I just kept checking the time. Just like if it wasn't because of Chimamanda, I would not sit through it. And it was I really liked the book, and it was just I don't know. It was really disappointing. Especially I'm someone that loves books, and I've got like a pretty vivid imagination. And you don't even have to have a vivid imagination to like Chimamanda's books because she's going to do the work. She's going to do the hard work of imagining things for you, right? Yours is just to take in the words, and then the pictures are going to get painted in your head. And
We're in
then,
the good, oh, we're in the good.
oh, we're in the good. Oh, I don't even know, man. I don't. That just tells you I can't think of anything. Please let me just wait for the other segments, please. I actually thought that was the segment we were, Sorry, I don't have anything good to say about it, please. Thank you.
Oh, well, all right. Thank you. In the car, please tell us if you have good things to say about Half of a Yellow Sun and what are the movie.
Okay, I have failures on the movie. Yeah, I liked the production design sometimes. Like I liked it. The houses felt like it it really transports you to that time period, I think. The hair, the wigs were perfect because I've seen some of my grandmother's pictures from that period and it's the same wig. So I'm like, yes. But I felt like the production design was really nice. Those uh a bit pre-colonial houses that they lived in with all those louvers, with all those wooden inner door, all those wooden inner windows in the door, the corridors, the verandas. Uh, that vibe, I feel related to that time period. So that was what I liked most about.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Nduka. Who do we have left? Is that everybody? Okay, that's everybody.
Oh my god, am I on? I
Wait.
can't hear myself.
Okay.
I'm supposed to hear
Stop.
myself. I'm
Yes.
sorry. Good evening, everyone.
Hi.
Oh god, I'm embarrassing myself.
No, good.
Please, if anybody can hear me, this is my first time.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Tell us what
Okay.
you liked about half of a Yellow Sunday movie.
Oh, okay. Like Unduka said, I really like the houses. I like that Genevieve looked really pretty as always. Yes. I liked Ugu's acting as well. I really, really did enjoy Ugu's acting. I mean, it was believable, very believable. He felt like that boy that Adichie had written about in the novel, in the book itself. And okay, you said just the things that I like. This is just it because on the flip side, I agree with Chinwike that said he didn't like anything and he's trying to suppress the memory of the movie. But yeah, these are just a few things I like. The houses, Genevieve, and Ugu's acting. That's it.
Okay. Thank you, Steph. Mrs. C. What did you like about?
I'm going to join everybody and reiterate Genevieve's beauty in this. Actually, stunning queen. Tinamba's beauty in this, stunning queen. I I'm glitching. Um, accent aside, I think Chiwetel Ejiofor had some good performances in this. Some moments of mostly good performance in this by Chiwetel Ejiofor. If you ignore the accent and forget it, I appreciated that the person who played Kainene stayed with the British accent. I wish Thandi had done the same. I'm not gonna get lost with some rich person from 1960s Nigeria who spent how much of their education abroad, just speaking with a British accent. That would have worked for me. It wouldn't have taken me out. So yeah, I appreciate that Kainene did that. I wish this other person had done it. I wish Thandi had done it.
Okay, thanks, Mrs. C. Well, still my Chiwetel Ejiofor one. Chiwetel Ejiofor I thought was really good. About the accent, yes, but I really enjoyed a lot of what he did and a lot of what he showed. He showed a lot of range in his performance. Really, this isn't really good, but I did enjoy seeing like Luvas back in the back. Luvas, so it's kind of part of the production design, but like that's not. I can't tell you that I liked the production as a whole, but that part there was good. Yeah, as somebody who mentioned that Genevieve in the last film we watched, Keeping Faith, wasn't doing it for him. In this short appearance, absolutely changed. Yeah, she was in fact doing it for me. So, well done to Genevieve's beauty on that. And yeah, not much else for me as well. Not much else for me. I think this is difficult. Like Chinweke said, is quite a lot of times it's difficult to adapt books, and this showed why sometimes it can be very difficult. But yeah, not a lot for me to add, to be honest. So all right, let's move to the things that we did not like. Vanessa, you want to tell us how many things you did not like about?
Tandy Newton. Ejo, like Mrs. C was saying, I didn't. Well, let me not do too much. Even if she do stick to the because I was about to say I didn't believe she stuck to the British accent. But even if she didn't stick to the British accent, honestly, that was a I don't know, it was a below par performance from Tandy Newton. Yeah, and like Chueke said, again, guys, this is one of the few films where I have successfully wiped it out of my memory. Like it's so insane. I literally have no frame of reference for this. I will say though, much like Chinweke, I was bored. I was, mind you, we literally just had like such a rousing conversation about the book, right? We've been talking about the multitude of themes and how certain things explored certain things and how these things informed characters. Yet it's a film about war, guys. And we were bored. Do you realize how incredibly difficult it is to make a film about? I mean, there are boring war films, but like this was boring. Like I didn't feel anything. I, I think that was the film's greatest sin. Forget the accents and the fact that instead of casting an Igbo Nigerian, they cast an Newton. You forget all of that. This film's greatest sin is that it was plain. It was as plain as overnight oats. Do you guys know how stodgy overnight oats are? All of you who are preaching the gospel of overnight oats, thunder fire on her. Overnight oats are a sin to the human palate, and so was Half of a Yellow Sun, the film. It genuinely was boring, plain, staid, honestly an offense to my eyes and my senses. And I'm very glad to have wiped it out of my memory. And I will never be revisiting this film ever again. No much amount of money anybody can pay me. Nothing you can give me. Not even that Loewe dress that I'm obsessed with. Nothing you can give me will make me watch this film again. Thank you all.
Wow. Okay, it's okay. At least we know it wasn't just, apparently it wasn't just laziness. It's just it's a strong principle. It's a strong principle against this film. All right. Okay, thank you, Vanessa. OT, do you have things you did not like about Half of a Yellow Sun?
I have things, plenty things. Um, I was trying to like understand why it was so bad because I realized I liked a lot of book to movie adaptations, but like as Vanessa said, apart from it being boring, I feel like they couldn't even the characters. Because I remember Kainene's character was supposed to be like almost stoic, very sarcastic, and then I'm just like I cannot see it in Anika Rose. Thandiwe's character was horrible. And every time she said her name, I was just like, just let other people say your name. Don't say. I remember there was a scene where she was like, oh, she was telling Ugu that he cannot make the food, I should make it for him. And I was just like, do you think you can make it? Like this performance you're giving me is not giving that you can make that food. And I think Mrs. C was saying something about, I don't know, I think I was expecting the accent to be, I don't even know if more Nigerian British, I don't than British Nigerian. Like I was expecting it to be like, okay, educated 1960s British accent, but it's like it was very much I couldn't relate to the accents. Plus, as I said, when Thandiwe always tried to now make it Nigeria, I was just like, please stop. I think they also like the complexity of the characters, you could not see it when we were watching the movie because everybody was just plain. There was nothing to them. Even the relationship. I remember the relationship with Kainene and Richard. I was just like, is this how it was in the it was just everything was just so confusing to me. And as I said, this was the first movie where I'm like, wow, like why are these British actresses the lead, that they're doing such a horrible job with this. You people are probably have put Genevieve as kind of now, probably have been better. But yeah, I just remember, yeah, it was all of that. It was the characters were very plain. The movie was plain. The performances were horrible. As you said, I think Chiwetel was fine. I think Chiwetel was okay in the movie. But yeah, and I think also listen, hard to translate a book to movie because like those small things that made the characters right, like those small things that made like Ugu and all of this, and then you lose all of that in the movie, and you're watching this movie and it's like, what am I watching? But yeah, that's basically it.
All right. No, thanks, Uti. And Emezi, do you want to tell us some of your issues with?
Yeah. Oh wow. Like, I think I don't know if the first person said something. They give their submission first. I think, like you said, this movie is easily forgettable. You just watch it and you just cannot remember what you watch. You just like you watch it and then you're done. And it's like, okay, I'm done. And that's like a complete failure because and I don't know. I was done with my phone, so I can't remember the person's. But they said somebody said something about how oh, I forgot now. Just slip my mind. But there's something that she said something that really resonated to me. Yeah, I just cannot. The one thing we know about Half a Yellow Sun, yeah, it's a war film. That's yeah, we got that. And if there's anything this I think the movie was trying to do was to put the war in front of the like they want to give us a sense of the war. I think that's what they were trying to do. But we all know Nigerian film. We cannot pull that off. And yeah, they tried to do that, but then they failed. The major things in the film, the book was kept aside, which are the book, a large part of it are character driven. It's very character heavy, and you cannot move these characters because the minute because I just remember that when they announced that the sisters are going to be the lead, I just could not help myself but it doesn't even make sense. And Kainene does not have enough substance for it for her to sort of carry the film. And then the film was fast. The pacing of the film was really fast. So things just happen very, very fast, and you just cannot follow through. And the ones that sort of like when we meet these characters, very slow moments that are very slow. It's listen, those we can do without those moments in the film, and that's the problem I have with it. It's really fast. You don't even know exactly what's going on. You are you are at this party. The next scene, there's a thing going on in the sky. It's not properly done. Um, there's a comment about their actors, like the two people who played the sister. I don't remember their name, but I don't have a problem with them because I've read the book and I know those two people, like Kainene and Olanna, they are well educated and they spend half of their life abroad. The only sense where I know that their fathers, their parents make sure that they know how to speak Igbo. They have, you know, but then they spend half of their life abroad. So I never had a problem with that. But then I know someone said about how Lana was like, "Oh, I will cook this thing for you in the film," and then I also laughed in that scene because the girl, you just cannot. We know you cannot cook. It's so obvious that you are not somebody that can cook more than Ugu. So yeah, I felt the film was moving too fast. The pacing was just too fast for me to grasp what was going on. Because even me that have read the book, while I was watching it, I'm like, huh? Did okay, okay, maybe I didn't. So yeah, that was just my problem with the film.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Chinweke, do you want to tell us your issues with this film?
Absolutely, I'm alive. Um, okay, so what did I even stop? So, do you know, I actually completely forgot that Genevieve was in this film. That's how erased from my memory this is. I actually had to go Google and try to figure out what the role she played was. That's how that's how much I've forgotten about this. The storytelling in the film. And the thing about this film, what makes it more painful for me is that they spent a lot of money. I think the money as at the time was like 1 billion naira, and it ran into a couple of $1 million as at the time. I mean, you could understand given that they had to use a couple of Hollywood stars, like Chimamanda was pretty big as at the time. Tandy Newton was also pretty big, but I don't know, man. The book, I don't think there's ever going to be a successful adaptation of that book into maybe 3 hour film. It's not going to work because that book has so much depth. It's so packed. So there's no way you're going to be able to make it into a film that will be able to capture all the depth and nuances and whatever. So I feel like it was already set up to fail from the beginning. Maybe for someone that hasn't read the book, it might have done something. But for me, that I've read the book, and not only did I read it, I loved it. It felt like an assault. It felt like a personal attack. The storytelling was rushed. There was no emotional depth. The characters were pretty flat compared to, like, they didn't. There wasn't enough screen time to really develop the characters. It will probably have uh, been better as a series or something, where you take it pace by pace, and don't even get me. I don't know why Mrs. C said you should that accent aside. Why are you dropping it aside? Please bring it back. That accent was just it just kept taking me out of the whole thing. It just had like the book had so much richness, but the movie was like a watered down version. It lacked all the things that made the book great, like the depth, the intensity, the emotional weight. Yeah, it was overall. I don't know, man. I did not enjoy it. It was just like I mentioned earlier. I just kept. I remember the only thing I remember is that I was just waiting for it to finish, and immediately it finished. I was like, "Yeah, we are done. I'm never going back to this place." I genuinely only came here just to talk about the book. I don't really care about the movie. So yeah, thank you.
Wow, wow, wow. Okay, thanks. Thanks, Jamaica. MSC, have you spoken? Did I can't remember. MSC, have you said what you didn't like about the film? All right, Unduka, do you want to wait? Now I'm just
Yeah, can you hear
yes.
me? I've been waiting 10 years for this moment. Okay, one, the accents are horrible. I guess you grew up in the abroad or whatever. I haven't read this book since I was in SS2. That was like 2009. And I remember like carrying this film on my head in 2014 when it came out and like being so obsessed with it. We're like in uni then we're obsessed with ideologies and all these kind of things. And this accent really pained me that year. It really pained me. Olanna cannot even pronounce her own name. Every time she calls Ugo, she mentions a different name. Sometimes it's Ugo, sometimes it's Ogo, sometimes it's Ugu. Like she doesn't say it the same time every time. That character was just terrible. I hated that character from beginning to end. It's what is she doing there? I don't get why she's there. Like this man doesn't like you. Why are you there in the middle of war? Is it what do you think this war is? That's a playground for you, right? And the war is just like treated like a playground. It's tepid and in the background, and a couple bomb falls at their wedding conveniently in Umwahia at a very wrong time in the war. It's like, okay, I have one very special nitpick that is a bit niche that I have about it. So they keep showing this map thing, and I'm kind of like a map geek. Sorry, people should not be offended. So they zoom into, they keep talking about Abba, where Chimamanda is from, which is where this character is from. And they keep saying Aba, which is a different place, a huge city that had a different story in the war, right? And then in the map, when they are going from Aba, their village to Umuahia, they go from Aba south to Umuahia north, which is not where it is in the map. Aba is in Anambra State and it's in north of Umuahia. The one that is south of Umuahia is Aba, which is a big city that does not even feature in this book. So I'm thinking, okay, I might just need speaking because it's just a small thing on a small map that is just like a niche knowledge. But then compared with the horrible terrible, atrocious accents that I don't know where they are from. Where exactly is Olanna supposed to be from? I'm sorry. Where it's exactly supposed to is it mentioned in the book? I can't remember that she had no wonder that woman called her a witch. She cannot even pronounce her own name. I would have chased her out too. The character is terribly written. What's it? There is no sense of urgency that is felt. I remember being immersed as an SS2 boy reading that book. I was not immersed in this world. This was one of the books that made me actually go and start researching about the Civil War to find out more about it. But this film leaves me sleeping halfway. I am not like, I learned nothing about these places these people are. Most of the things are said in montages. Most of the war is made in black and white montage that feels like a documentary inside of a film that just throws you off. Why make a montage when you can make a film? You're already making a film. Make a film. Okay, I've waited 10 years. Thank you for making us watch this film to say all of this. Because this book means so much to me. The events mean so much to me, and this film, I don't know. It's not it.
Well, Nduka. All right. Hey, Nduka.
Could give you this opportunity to get it off your chest.
Yeah, welcome. Oh no, stuff is gone. Okay, all right. Is it Mrs. C? Everybody has gone, yeah. All right, Mrs. C. What did you not like about this film?
Where do we start? So if someone had told me that this film was made by a non-Nigerian and directed by a non-Nigerian, I would have said, yeah, that tracks. But it wasn't. There is a lack of. I remember when I was talking about the book, right? I said there's so much of Nigeria in it. It encompasses some sort of understanding, familiarity. This felt very lacking in that spirit. It didn't feel familiar in the way the book felt familiar. A lot of it looked like a play. It didn't look like a film. It looked like a play. It looked like sets in a play, which really took me out. I couldn't get into it. Tandy's, I did not enjoy Tandy's performance. I didn't enjoy. I mean, forget the accent, right? The accent was bad. The accent was confused. I wish she just stuck with her normal British accent, because Kainene was having that just be British and keep it pushing. But I think we were mixing British in some parts with stereotypical African accent in film. Plus, I think there was some South African in there. It was a mess, right? But the character of Olanna that she was playing was the character was kind of irritating, and like that wasn't again, like, treat a book and a film as two different pieces of art, whatever. But like, you're adapting the book, right? And this Olanna in the film, I was just like, can you stop? You're getting on my nerves. That's what I kept getting from her. And then Kainene's character as well. Really, again, it was my expectations, right? I'm expecting this aloof, just sexy in that aloof kind of way, right? That untouchable. And she's just like, the vibes she's giving Richard so early on, I'm like, not my Kainene. Like, Richard, I'm going back to the book, this guy didn't even know she loved him until she burnt his manuscript, right? Not this one, right? The Kainene in this book is not burning Richard's manuscripts or anything. In the film, sorry, which was, I don't know, just kind of disappointing, those characters. I felt, I don't know why they chose to, I think my question is like, why would you take the creative directions, right, that you're taking in changing stuff from the books. I want to know what the idea was behind changing the relationship between the sisters. That very early on. I know a lot of it was trying to compress things, right, and cut things out. And if John Boyega had taken the role of Ogo after reading just the book and not the screenplay, I know he must have been mad at his agent, just fuming, because Ogo's character doesn't exist in the film. And that's quite a big change in an adaptation of making somebody who was such a focal character to in barely an extra. He was such an afterthought. So when we were even watching it, we thought, now there's not even going to be any point to finding Ugu, right? Like, I think they're just going to let him be dead and let's keep it pushing. But no, we found Ugu and it's such a big deal. And I'm like, okay, why though? You haven't shown me anything for me to see these people care so much about Ugu. Anybody dies, sure, it's sad, whatever. But like when she really loses it about Ugu's death, I'm like, okay, I didn't see any affection here. I didn't get enough to care about these characters. I didn't care about Olanna and Odenigbo's relationship. I didn't care about, like, the war was boring. The war was boring. When the explosion happened outside the wedding and they all run off. And I guess it's okay. So obviously I've never been in a war, right? I don't know how we make these things work. But the way some things make sense, right? In the book, the reception is outside. They're dancing outside. So when the air raid starts, everybody goes to the ground. In the film, everyone's inside. The air raid starts. We're not falling to the ground. Everybody's running outside into the explosions. Cool. I don't know, right? If I was ever in an explosion, maybe that's what I do. But they're running and it's dramatic and the baby's screaming and I feel nothing. How do you make explosions boring? Anywho, all in all, yeah, it felt like a play. It felt like it was missing a lot of the essence of Nigeria. It felt like it was being made by somebody who didn't understand the book, who doesn't understand Nigeria, who doesn't understand the tensions, and also just, who didn't understand the characters. And that was just kind of sad.
Okay. I think I agree with basically all the negative stuff that have been said about this film. The way I would sort of wrap it up for me or summarize it for me would be, like I said, for me, the greatness of the book was it had all these fully fleshed characters and it put them in this fully fleshed world that was really difficult. That was really difficult to sort of stomach, and that was very heavy and filled, well lived in and authentic. Those are the things. And I said, it's not about this overarching plot that ties up everything. And what this film decided to do was sort of almost the worst thing I think you could have done with this, which is it compressed everything, which meant that it made all the rich characters flat. It flattened also the world building that Chimamanda had done. And then, like, what are you left with then? Because again, like I said, the strength of the book isn't some big plot that ties around. It's in all of these nuances. And what I think could have been done is you could have taken a piece of this. You could have taken a little bit of the book and focused on it, right? There's so much. I think they're different, even though, like, you know, I do agree that this would have been difficult to adapt, but, like, you know, that was the job here, was to adapt to this book. And I just think it failed, because what's the point of doing what's the point of like being? What's the point of taking even so much of the dialogue word for word if you don't understand that the reason why a bunch of the dialogue and some of the plot points, by the way, have the impact that they do is because we understand the characters as they have been built already in the book. But if you don't do any of that building, any of that character development, and you just still give us the characters, it's meaningless. And I think one of the examples of this would have been for me, there are many examples of this, but one of them is Odenigbo when he is sleeping with Amala in the film. So in the we see him drinking in the film. He's drinking, and like, you know, Genevieve's character, Miss Adebayo, right? Comes and kisses him, like is flirting with him, kisses him on the lips, and one of his friends comes to say, "Oh, you know, are you going to, you know, do anything? Nobody's going to know," like that kind of thing. And we're like, "Oh, okay." Me, I was thinking, okay, maybe it's going to do a different thing because right now we don't have anything, no setup with Odenigbo and Amala, but I was thinking, yeah, no setup. So where's this going to go? But then we just see him, and it just cuts to him having sex with Amala. And again, something that in the book you don't see. But forget the book now. Like, why has this happened? Where's this come from? Okay, it hasn't been set up. He's just having sex with Amala. Like, okay, he must be a nasty person. And then he starts lying about it, right? Again, in the book, we don't know whether he's lying, you know, we don't know whether he's lying or not because he says, you know, Mama did a certain thing to him, you know, like Mama got him drunk. In this one, we see him, Koro, pouring out his own drink, right? He's pouring out his own drink when he's talking to his friend. So, Odenigbo is lying right now that, oh, no, Mama did something to him. Now he's just, it goes from the complex character that he was in the book where we don't know whether he is the person that he is. And if we give him the benefit of the doubt, it's not that to absolve him of things, but it's making both Mama much, at least more richer in her villainy of what she's willing to do to get her, in her dislike actually for Olanna and all of that. But now we're just left with just a plain, bland, just a liar, cheater of a husband in Odenigbo. But forget that. He then just goes on to keep on talking about, this thing comes up many times where he talks about Mama, when he's begging that Mama made him do it. I'm like, why do you keep repeating this? It's not in your film. You didn't put that in your film. Why do you keep repeating it in the film? It's not there. There's nothing about that in there. And there's so many of these kind of things like spread out throughout the film where the characters have been flattened, something has been removed, and it hasn't really thought about why we've taken that out and we've put this one in or any of that. There's something about the order of the events with Richard that Mrs. C pointed out whilst we were watching. Me, the thing that actually annoyed me the most, because this one seemed needless, in the book, after Olanna makes love with Odenigbo after she's had sex with Richard, she turns to him after like a moment of like, you know, she goes to Richard and she begs Richard like, hey, we can't tell anyone about this. Nothing can happen. She goes home, she has sex with Odenigbo, and it feels, you know, again, we get this a little bit of enjoyment mixed with a little bit of disgust with herself. And then she says, I fucked Richard. She said, I fucked Richard. And I was waiting for that line because I remember when I read it or listened to it in the audiobook that I was listening to, I messaged Mrs. C because I gasped. I was like, "Oh my god, I fucked Richard," and I was waiting for that line at least. And when the line came up here, it was, "I slept with Richard." I was like, why have you made this change in a film where it's not like we're doing PG rated version of this war? I mean, like, you've already seen Tandy Newton's nipple for no reason. Why we censoring? Why we taking the impact of the difference between? Because like she was disgusted. She had this. Obviously, there was a lot of mixed emotions going on, but like she wasn't happy with herself, and she wanted to hurt him, and that's the essence of the "I fucked Richard." It just has more oomph with "I slept with Richard." This seems like such a small thing. I know I've given you bigger. Hopefully, I've given you bigger examples, but I'm just trying to use this to illustrate how much the mark this missed, and it does this all over the film. And again, it does. You don't even have to compare. I mean, like, in terms of the adaptation, we absolutely can't compare it with the book because the book is the source material, and you can see where things are done better. But within the film, as a film, it doesn't work because of a lot of the things people have said. The film just, Nduka nailed it. It feels like a montage. It feels like you're just going from event to event. It's like, oh, what are the parts of the book we can't exclude? That's what it felt like was being done here. Which parts can I not? I cannot leave this one out, and let me put this one here. I cannot leave that. Let me put this one here. Without thinking about all the thread, it didn't feel like somebody wanted to write an actual story that would stand alone as a film. It just felt like they were borrowing parts of the book and stitching it together, which is why it failed. If he had actually gone his own ways, if he had actually taken the spirit of the book, which was maybe tell a film about the absolute horror show of war and what it can do to you can do that in a 2-hour film. You don't even need the limited series. You can do that in a 2-hour, maybe, I would say push maybe for 2020, but that can be done. It's not impossible. There are films that have done that. So I don't know. That's the biggest reason for me why this fails, is that it doesn't understand that the book itself isn't a master. It hasn't got this overarching plot that you can just adapt and people will stick to the plot. It flattens the character, it flattens the world, and those were the best things about the book. And now you're left with shitty accents and random shitty accents, random nudity, and things that have absolutely zero impact. But yeah, that's what I like about the film. But obviously, I didn't like it. Is there any pushback anybody had with anything anyone said? Okay, no pushback. Yeah, well, nobody had much. I think we're all generally on the same side with this. And all right, so generally, let's do a summary of we'll do one for the book, and then you can do one for the film. Vanessa, what's your
My summary was, let this not repeat itself again, but I cannot even say that. I can't even say that because what happened in Half of a Yellow Sun, the film, is about to repeat itself again. Very soon we don't. In fact, well, everybody, if you like the book, read the book. Don't disturb yourself about what these people want to do. Otherwise, they will ruin every single memory you have of what you have read. You will just be angry throughout. So, this for me, it's not even summary. What I'm going to say is, yeah, I personally will not be watching whatever happens to things fall apart. Um, so yeah, just read the book. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
no? No, all right. Thanks, Vanessa. Uti.
Wait, before I start, for some reason I don't know why I feel like Things Fall Apart will probably be an easy adaptation, easier. So like if they ruined that one, that's just going to be horrible. But I do, I do agree with Vanessa. Um, well, my summary is I would never advise anyone to watch the movie. I would always tell them to read the book. Don't read the book and watch the movie. Just read the book alone. Watching the movie will just spoil everything. But yeah, that's my summary.
All right. Thanks, Uti. Chimweke.
Okay. So my summary is, I actually thought Vanessa was talking about what's this woman
Oh,
that did the
that's not
fake
a Nigerian
audition?
book. I don't consider that book a Nigerian book. So yeah, that
Fair
one no
enough.
concern me.
Fair,
That one no concern me. Anything they want to make them do.
fair enough. So yeah, my summary is that Half of a Yellow Sun as a novel is it's a masterpiece. It's got it's very rich. It's got a lot of detail. I would recommend it any day, but it's something that it's quite heavy and it stays with you. So it's not something you want to like just read off the casual. It's not something you want to read casually. It's something you want to like take your time and settle down and read. Because it's quite heavy and it's very emotional and it's a very weighty subject matter. The film, on the other hand, honestly, you could I don't know, just avoid it if you avoid it. Not if you can, you should avoid it. Just pretend like it doesn't exist. Maybe, hopefully, someone does justice to it in the future. But yeah, that is my summary. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, thanks, Chimweke. Ndaka. Ndaka, either for a summary of either the book.
Sorry, I have a summary. Yeah, so the movie is really boring, and I don't know. I'm not sure inside the movie business like that, but I don't know. I feel like somebody could have been correcting Tandy Newton every time she mispronounced Ugu's name or her own name. I just feel like it's just the bare minimum, right? That anybody on set could know or could have known and say, oh, that's not how it is said. That's not your name. It's Olanna. It's Amala. And they kept calling her Amala, like as in the food that they eat. And I'm like, is it that you don't know how to speak Yoruba, you don't know how to speak Igbo? Which one do you know? Well, let's not continue down that line. I don't like Odenibo in this film. Odenibo is just there and then occasionally spots out ideology. We don't know where he stands with his ideology. In the book, you are able to understand and understand where he stands. But in the book, in the film, he just spots out random questions and then goes, who will answer? Who is our answer? Like the ITK in your family group that just spots us and goes, oh, did you know that Mount Everest is the tallest mountain in the world? Do you know? Do you know? That's how it just like yeah, so but I think you should watch it, Sha. I would recommend it to people to watch. There's not too many films about this time period in Nigeria, so I would recommend it. Because of the subject matter and because of what it covers, I would always recommend it for people to watch. So yeah, that's my summary.
Okay. All right. Thanks, thanks, Ndaka. SCC.
Yeah, book 10 out of 10. Will I read again? Probably not for another 10 years. But again, just because it's really heavy, but very worthwhile reading. Film, incredibly disappointing. And yeah.
Yeah, not different from much of what people said. Even though I found the book really heavy towards the latter half, I think I would recommend it strongly at least once. You should at least read it once. And then the film, I think the film fails as a film because I don't think the film is coherent as a film because of the film is patch patch. It really is. That's the best way to describe it. It's patch patch. if you're Nigerian, the inauthenticity of the film will bother you very much. And I think also like I said, it fails as a film, but I think it fails even harder as an adaptation. Feels even more as an adaptation. It's a worse adaptation. When you've read the book, you can see all the missed opportunities. You can see. I mean, the funny thing is, like, when I think about this, like, maybe sometimes reading the book can help plug in the gaps when you're watching the film, because you fill in the blanks because in the book they did some certain things, and there are examples of that, by the way. So I really just don't think this film works on any level. So yeah, not a recommend for me. But yeah, anyway, thanks everybody. We've enjoyed quite a few different journeys away from films, more contemporary Nollywood films. We're about to go back to it for 2 weeks, for 2 weekends, I think, at least. I think next weekend we'll probably be doing Funke's film, and it drops on a Sunday. So you guys don't have long. You guys don't have long. I have to rush that one. It dropped on a Sunday midnight.
What is Sunday morning? Sunday evening?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes. Too many of you should not pretend like you have not watched the film of the week on Sunday. Don't do that. All right. So that's probably what we're going to be doing next week. And wish all of us the best, because the trailer I've seen so far, we need all the well wishes we can get. But contemporary films here, we're back again. All right, thanks everybody. We'll see you next week. Thanks for doing this. I know this was a big assignment for some people, and thanks for doing it, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the episode. If you enjoyed listening and would like to join live, just follow us on Twitter at Iroko Critic and join us every Sunday, 6 p.m. West African time on our spaces.